Welcome to Washington Unplugged. I'm John Dickerson. There have been so many turning points for the Obama administration, it's starting to feel like it's going in circles. We're at another one now. The president's congressional support is eroding, his popularity falling, and political handicappers are predicting ever bigger losses for Democrats in this year's election. Wednesday, the president will deliver the State of the Union address. What's he going to say? What's the White House path out of this thicket? And are things as bad as they seem? Joining me to discuss all of this is CBS News White House correspondent Mark Knoller and the Washington Post's Chris Cillizza. So, Mark Knoller, what's the mood there at the White House this morning?
Well, they're trying to put a good face on this week's State of the Union on Wednesday night. President goes to Tampa, Florida, taking his State of the Union message on the road later in the week. They're trying to come back from one of the worst political weeks President Obama has suffered since taking office last week, when a Republican won the U.S. Senate seat from Massachusetts, long held by Ted Kennedy. Over the weekend, we learned that President Obama was asking his campaign manager from 2007 and 2008, David Plouffe, to come to work at the Democratic National Committee and be a top advisor to the White House on the 2010 political races and midterm elections. So they're trying to show that they're coming back. They're not letting the events of this year or last year, when both gubernatorial races went to Republicans, despite the fact that President Obama made 7 campaign rally appearances for the Democratic gubernatorial candidates in New Jersey and Virginia. They both lost. So he's in risky political territory, but they're trying to show they're not on their knees, and they're trying to come back.
No prayers yet at the White House. Chris Cillizza, put in context this David Plouffe news. On the one hand, the White House seems to be wanting to send a signal to a certain group, namely Democrats in Washington. On the other hand, they're saying, oh, no, don't overread this. Don't make too big a deal about it.
Right. John, I think you've touched on exactly what they're trying to do. You don't get the credit for making the move, but also be able to say it has nothing to do with in reaction to Massachusetts. Do I think David Plouffe, who, as Mark mentioned, has been an advisor to the Obama administration since managing the campaign, was going to come back at some point? Sure, absolutely. But it's clear that timeline has been accelerated in the wake of Massachusetts. There was a sense in Massachusetts that the National Party committees were not speaking well with the White House. They were not communicating well in turn with the Martha Coakley campaign, that there was a communications breakdown somewhere along the line that led to just an absolutely astounding defeat when you look at the demographics of Massachusetts, not to mention the symbolism of it being Ted Kennedy's seat, not to mention the importance of it legislatively being the 60th Senate vote. So I think that what's clear here is that the David Plouffe's ability to manage things, to be extremely detail-oriented, to make sure everyone is on the same page, which he did incredibly well during a difficult time in 2007, 2008, that's what they value. That's what they're hoping to bring back. But I would say David Plouffe is not the panacea here. As Mark mentioned, in Virginia, New Jersey, and then again in Massachusetts, Democrats lost all 3 of those races. One of the major reasons they lost, independents voted strongly against them and for the Republican candidate. That's a direct reversal of President Obama's appeal to independents in 2008. David Plouffe isn't going to solve their problem with independents. He may make them more organized, better communicating with one another, but the messaging right now is not great for the White House.
Mark Knoller, I want to ask you about the messaging. David Plouffe will hopefully take the message the president delivers tomorrow, or Wednesday night, and get it out into the country. So what message is the president going to deliver?
You know, it's not a secret. David Plouffe laid it out very explicitly in an op-ed piece in the Sunday Washington Post. He said, make sure we don't give up on health care. Even though health care is now stalled, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi announced the other day that she cannot get the Senate version of the bill through her own House of Representatives. He said, work hard on jobs, make jobs a top priority, making it clear to the American people that the president is aware of the problem, he's not oblivious to it, he knows the economy is not what it should be, and that there are 15 million unemployed in America. And he also suggested such things as make it clear just how much the Recovery Act is doing, $787 billion package that was approved early in the president's first year. Many people think it hasn't done much. The administration says up to 2 million jobs have been created. David Plouffe says to stress that. But what Chris said is right. He's not a magician. He is not Pluff the Magic Dragon who can change all of these bad things and make them good, but he certainly has advice to give, and the president trusts him.
Chris, Cillizza, we are in this period, it seems like, where Democrats need a little more than just an op-ed in the Washington Post to feel confident about their marching orders. Give me some sense of sort of the freelancing going on now in terms of the finger pointing, the different assumptions people are making about what the landscape looks like going forward,
Sure.
and how tough that's going to be for the president, who will give a speech and then we'll get reactions from Democrats who just may not agree with him.
Well, you know, John, I think the White House is somewhat dismissive of Massachusetts, but I would say Massachusetts exposed sort of a broader rift between the White House political department and the congressional campaign committees. I'll give you an example. This morning, Delaware State Attorney General Beau Biden, the oldest son of the vice president, announced, surprising many people, that he would not, in fact, seek his father's old Senate seat. That puts Republicans in the driver's seat. They have a congressman named Mike Castle. He represents the entire state. He's the former governor of the state. And Democrats are left in some ways without a candidate. Well, what happened in the immediate aftermath of that? You had a lot of finger pointing. The White House didn't do enough. They weren't involved enough with Beau Biden. They didn't convince him that they would be behind him when he ran. Now, the White House would probably rightly say he's the vice president's son. The president didn't feel the need to get involved. But it shows you the level of animosity that exists there, distrust that exists there. And those are not traits that are helpful in a political environment like this that is already going to be difficult. The truth of the matter is you have to all get on the same page if you're Democrats as quickly as possible to try and salvage what you can, keep your majority in the House, keep your majority in the Senate, and hope that 2012 is a better year.
Mark Knoller, you've watched a few of these State of the Unions over the years. Give me your assessment of this kind of populist message we're hearing, the president getting more animated than we're used to seeing him in the town hall setting, and how much of that can even fit in a State of the Union, which is kind of limited, isn't it, in terms of its kind of formal, traditional setting, in terms of how emotional the president can be, in terms of how emphatic he can be?
Well, it's certainly always an elegant setting for the president to make a speech, but if President Obama is looking to make it into a political speech, as he did his town hall meeting in Ohio on Friday, it's not going to work, because you've got hundreds of Republicans in there who are not going to play the stooge for President Obama when he's making his points, and they're going to sit on their hands when he's talking about we can't give up on health care, and we're making a great effort to create jobs and to give the private sector an environment in which private sector hiring can be encouraged. Republicans don't think his policies are working, and they're not going to be shy about saying it. Will he get his point across? Sure, he's a great speaker, and he always comes up with great speeches. How long will it last? That remains to be seen. He'll take his message on the road to Florida the next day, but whether or not it is going to have any effect, he has given 50 speeches on getting health care enacted over the last year, and as you can see, it didn't help.
Chris Cillizza, last question for you. The last time the president spoke to a joint session of Congress, he was talking about health care, and he was interrupted when a Republican congressman shouted out that he was a liar, stealing the news cycle in a way from the president. What are Republicans planning, is your sense, maybe more outbursts, maybe not, but in terms of responding to the president in the wake of this new landscape after Massachusetts election? You
know, my guess would be there would be a talking to before the State of the Union by House Republican leaders, essentially saying we do not want another Joe Wilson moment. I think that they want to be the reasonable opposition. They want the American people who do pay attention in moments like this, the State of the Union, big speeches, they want the American people to see a party that disagrees with the president's direction, but is responsible enough to take it in a real and different direction. You don't necessarily want someone interjecting "you lie" into the debate. I think you can debate whether the political significance of that, but as you said, John, it clearly stole that day and several days forwards messaging for the White House and Republicans. You know, I think Republicans are going to continue to simply say, we offer an alternative. President Obama is using the government to solve your problems. We think there's another way. Polling suggests that the American people are far from sold on the Republican Party. I think that's something that gets lost in all this, but it may not matter. Midterm elections are so much always a referendum on the president and his party. If people feel as though they want to change from the president and Democrats, they'll just vote for the other guy. And in this case, Republicans have the benefit of being that other guy.
That's right. Chris Cillizza, thanks very much. Mark Knoller at the White House, thank you. And thanks all of you for watching Washington Unplugged. Join us again tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. I'm John Dickerson.